we project what we have inside onto the outside. So if we experience the world being a dark and negative place, it's because there's a lot of that in our system. And if it's cleared and healed, then it's actually nice.
Awareness, the final frontier. This is Awareness Explorers.
Well, welcome back, Awareness Explorers, to Awareness Explorers. I'm your co-host, Jonathan, and I'm with my friend and co-host,
Ryan Tom O'Connor.
And I am beyond excited to have a guest today that I am very familiar with her work. Usually Brian, spends 40 hours researching someone. I spend about 40 seconds. Now it's been reversed. I know Eva Müller's work really well. And let me tell you a little bit about her. From a young age, Eva was looking for something that made her feel fulfilled and gave her purpose in life. And about 6 years ago, Eva became interested in meditation and had a very significant experience right away that made her curious. And through listening to a guided meditation, she fell into a deep state of samadhi where nothing existed anymore. So Eva started meditating regularly with different spiritual teachers online who were transmitting spiritual energies and higher states of consciousness. She progressed through various levels of consciousness, such as self-realization, God consciousness, unity consciousness, Brahman consciousness. We'll talk about all that, of course. By working with a healer and using different practices to help clear her system, she achieved a clear and steady experience of unity. And after a profound spiritual event where the Divine Mother took over Eva's system and merged with her, the state of Brahman occurred. A few months later, an energy transmission started to come in that Eva could transmit to others, and healing abilities started to develop. And since then, Eva has helped thousands of people from all over the world, guiding them on their path to spiritual awakening and healing their systems. Welcome to Awareness Explorers, Eva.
Hello. Oh, thank you so much for having me, Brian and Jonathan. It's so great to be here. So thank you. Yeah, and thank you for the great introduction.
Yeah, there's so many things I want to ask you. First, I'll let our listeners know that I've had a private session with Eva, and I often will listen to her guided meditations on YouTube. And she also has in the past done a podcast with Gareth Dugnam. Did I say it right?
Dignam.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Great. Who many of you know as well. One of the things that I'm curious about, Eva, is you do in-person transmissions sometimes, like a retreat, and then you do Zoom transmissions, and then you also put your videos up on YouTube that people can watch later. And I originally did not believe that you could do a Zoom transmission, but then again, reality intervened and showed me that it was powerful enough, and I was getting Zoom transmissions beyond my wildest dreams. And then I had a hard time believing that it could happen in a recorded Zoom session, and I get transmissions even from that. So how is this possible? How does any of that work, if you can say anything about that?
Yeah, it's actually a very, very great question. And it's fascinating because I also didn't know before that this was possible. And it's actually quite simple. So on an energetical level, there is no time and space. And for example, when I record a Zoom session or a YouTube video, I'm doing a healing, for example, and I'm recording it at that moment, and it's created. It's like a library on an energetical level. So it's there, it's created. And then when you watch the YouTube video, you tap into that, what's already created, and it's just playing out. So very simple.
I think Gareth mentioned it's almost like the internet, you go to a URL, it's that URL or web page is already there. You're just tuning into that.
Exactly. It's already created. So whatever you create on an energetical level, it's there. Like on a physical, you just create an item and it's there. You can hold it. And it's the same on an energetical level. You just create, for example, I create the healing session or the YouTube meditation, and then it's there. And by watching it, you're tapping into it, and you can do it over and over again because it's just there all the time.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. It is.
And I've had to stretch my belief. Well, no, what happened is I had the experience first, and then I had to stretch my belief to engulf that.
Yeah. I mean, you have to experience it, right? Because like the
Yeah.
mind can't really understand it, how that's possible. But if you experience it and if you are feeling energies, I mean, there are some people who are not feeling energies. For them, it's a bit harder to understand then as well. But if you can feel energies and if you have the experience, then you know, of course, that it's real and it's happening. Yeah. And
No,
it's so
no, Brian's
convenient.
our resident skeptic. And one of the greatest achievements in my life is the fact that Brian now goes to these Zoom sessions with you and Gareth. What's your thought on all this, Brian?
Well, I'm like you. The experience came before the belief, and I think that's really good. And even in everything that we talk about in terms of non-dual spirituality and awareness practices and self-inquiry, the mind is not the tool that's going to grasp what's really going on. That sort of analytical part of our minds, and I find that the more my heart is open, the more I experience this.
Mm. Yeah,
Beautiful.
beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's really all about experience, because how can you, like, even you're at the beach and there's a sunset, how can you describe a sunset to somebody and like give them that feeling, what you're having in that moment? It's not really possible. It's the same with that, right? You do a meditation, you can share what you're experiencing, but like you have to experience it for yourself to, yeah, and it's unique as well. So it's very unique how everybody's experiencing it. So, yeah.
I'm curious, Eva, you've been through so many changes in the last few years in consciousness and job, and I guess you were trained as a lawyer at one time?
Yeah, so I studied law and mediation. So I finished that, and then I was working in a real estate development company and real estate, just in real estate. Yeah, so a realtor. I was a realtor as well.
Uh-huh. Oh, realtor, law, Zoom transmissions to a
Yeah.
worldwide audience. It's all the same, you know. So some people go through some challenging times when their consciousness shifts so radically in a short period of time. Has that been challenging for you?
Yeah. So first of all, I learned by walking the path what it really means, like expanding the levels of consciousness, all of these different levels, because it's not that I had a lot of information beforehand. So I started meditating and always with transmissions. And after like three months, I started feeling the energy. So that was kind of enough for me. And then intellectual understanding was important, but not so much. It was just part of it. So I kind of knew what to expect, but like just on a small scale. And like going, for example, the levels, so self-realization, I didn't really have a big shift. Just the experience of who I am and how I experienced the world changed. But I had a big shift in unity consciousness and also in Brahman consciousness. And unity was very challenging. So this was probably the most challenging time on the whole path of awakening. Because before I thought, so the ego wants to reach unity consciousness, right? So the ego wants to be enlightened and to have, so what I thought enlightenment means is to have a better life experience and to feel fulfilled and everything is just bliss and joy and awesome and life is going to be just awesome. And this was my expectation. And then basically approaching it is the ego steps into the background, and what I thought that was me, so the small self was pulled out of my chest and there was like a hole left and I felt like dying, and I felt like a rug was lifted underneath my legs and I just fell. So I had a free fall. That's how I felt for a few days. So it was very different from what I thought it's going to be. I didn't feel better. I felt very confused. There was just a lot of the energies that were still from the human there. So all the stuck energies, the trauma and all of that was still stuck in the system, and it was basically just opened up. So there is a mechanism that can where we can just push this stuff down. But with unity consciousness, this mechanism was removed, and then everything just came up. So I did a little bit of healing work before, but not so much. I didn't really know that I still had a lot, or that I had a lot of stuff in my system. But then it just came up. So I felt like depression, fear, anxiety. I just felt, honestly, I messed up my life with that shift and seeking that. I totally thought it was really the hardest time of my life. And I couldn't meditate with transmissions anymore because I was so sensitive that the transmission felt like little needles on my body and on my skin. So I had to stop meditating for a while. I felt beings. So how do you say it? Between like dimension, like this veil was just very, very thin at that time. So I felt beings entering the room and leaving the room. So that I was very scared because I had a lot of fear in my system as well. Then also I couldn't really eat sugar anymore. I didn't have coffee, couldn't have any processed food or anything. I was just so sensitive. So a lot changed at that time, but like to the negative, a lot to the negative. And yeah, I didn't get what I wanted. And this was the hardest part.
Yeah.
So that was a really rough time. And then I decided, so a dear friend of mine, he gave me the advice to find somebody who I can really trust, and just give myself towards, because the small self is now gone. And now I kind of have to like find trust in something. And I have been meditating with Mother Mira for the time before as well. She's Avatar, the incarnation of the Divine Mother. You probably, I don't know if you know her, Mother Mira.
Yeah.
And then I just started praying to her more, reading her book, just doing japa. So she says doing japa is basically reciting her name. So just have her close. And I decided to give myself to her because she's the Divine Mother and she knows what's best for me, because I don't know anything anymore. Everything I thought was true wasn't. I felt very bad. And that's what I did. And she gave me a lot of hope and helped a lot. I mean, she's not talking or anything, just by knowing, okay, I give myself to her, I trust her, I felt held and cared and taken care of. That helped a lot, actually. And this helped me over that time. And also, of course, Garrett, he was my teacher at the time. He also could help me a lot. He did help me a lot, yeah.
How long did this difficult period last?
It was very difficult for about 2 months. And then I just decided, because I knew quite a few people who were in unity consciousness, and they just said, it just takes some time to integrate. You know, the system needs some time to just integrate the shift and understand what's happening. And yeah, and so I trusted them. And then they said, it's going to be better. It's going to be better. Things will get better. And it did, actually. So after 2 months, I was able to meditate again. So I only meditated with Mother Mira for a while. And so I also closed down this veil of experiencing beings and stuff like that. And I started doing healing work. So I started working with a healer because I realized I have a lot of trauma in my system. And that trauma was coming up all the time. And it's also veiling the unity experience, because I experienced the unity so that everything is the self for, let's say, a day or two. And then a human trauma came up again. And then I was stuck in that for a few days. And then when this passed through my system, or it was like healed or taken away by somebody, or I did some work to clear it, then the unity was there again. And then again, it was veiled and so on. So this was going on for like 1.5 years then eventually, the healing process. But like after 2 months, I was able to say, okay, I'm okay again. And now I'm starting like not downward, but upward again, you know, like the journey upward again. So, yeah.
Is there some aspect of unity consciousness? And I'd also like for you, if you wouldn't mind defining it for listeners who don't know about it, but is there something about it that where the usual way we keep our emotions down and our traumas hidden, is part of unity consciousness the dropping of that, and that's why these things sort of tend to come up?
Okay, so first I explain what unity consciousness means. So unity consciousness means becoming one with everything. So I'm just going to share my experience so that the listeners kind of have an understanding. So I was sitting in a meditation, and my skin just blew off like a balloon. You know, you leave out the air of a balloon, then just blows off. And this exactly happened with my skin. And then everything just became one. So the boundaries of my small self dissolved, they were gone, and I was one with everything. And from that on, this didn't change anymore. So then also the ego, what I said before, the ego, so what we identify with the small self and the ego, the small self dissolves. The small self is just a energy ball. That's how I saw it, in the chest area. And the ego steps into the background because it doesn't get any energy anymore, because the identification with it is then gone. Because, you know, you're not the ego, you are everything that exists. So that's unity consciousness. So it's also called oneness, or the self with a capital S. You're the self. And okay, what was your question?
Does unity consciousness have a certain vibration or feeling, or how would you describe it on a more human level in terms of your experience of it?
Okay, so when you experience unity, means you are one with everything. And for example, I can just say, share certain experiences I had, or certain experiences I had. For example, you see the self in everything that exists. So you look at a tree, or at another person, or it's just some item, and you not just know you are made out of the same consciousness than this item or the person or the tree. And this is the same with everything. So you just look at everything and you just know everything is just one consciousness. There is no separation anymore. Just the separation is gone. But the difference is there is still an individual experiencing the unity, and the individual falls away in Brahman consciousness. So that's the next step. So the individual experience, I am one with everything. And the vibration is so bliss, for example. So when you look at everything, you could say you see, so everything is blissful. The self is in everything, and it's a certain vibration. It's energy. You see the energy in everything. Yeah.
Right. Beautiful. And how would you describe?
Brian, sorry, Brian had a question before, but I
yes, the question was, is there a relaxing of the ways that we suppress our emotions and our trauma that falls away with unity consciousness, and that's why these things rise up? And is that natural, and we just expect it and allow it?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So I experienced definitely with the shift of unity consciousness that this mechanism broke down. So it was just gone. So the mechanism that was holding down past experiences, trauma, things I just didn't want to look at, it was all held down, pushed down. And then with the unity shift, it just opened up and everything just blew up, basically. Is everybody experiencing it exactly with the unity shift? I'm not so sure. It varies for everybody a little bit, but around that time, so it could be a little bit before or after as well. So I'm working with a lot of people who, for example, they are in unity consciousness and they still have this mechanism in place, but they have the understanding that they need to clear their system because they experience still stuff happening, that the stuff is triggered and all of that. So they know that's there. They feel heavy, they feel something is there, but it's not really showing itself. And with healing work, you can just get it out of the system, basically. Yeah, but there is this mechanism, yeah.
And you mentioned that you did a lot of healing work during this time. Was that, what did you find particularly useful for your healing in that time period?
Yeah, so I worked with a healer and she was able to just remove past life influences and trauma from this life experience. So every time I had a session, I felt big relief afterwards. I just felt more open. There was more light in my system. The vibration rose. So that's how I knew it worked. So I felt just a lot better. And also what I did is a technique called transcendence technique. It's a technique for karma clearing. Actually, it's to also to raise the level of consciousness of Earth. So it has a bigger meaning, but also what it does, it helps to clear your system from karma. And this is what I did for about half a year. And it's a practice visualization and breathing technique. And this was a very intense time. So it was like in the middle of unity, when I experienced unity, I was going through that. And it's basically through the breathing technique, and there's also a transmission involved, it brings up the samskara. So it's called samskara. So this is like the human stuff, the karma. And then, you're already experiencing the unity. It's nice. Everything is blissful. Your day is just unfolding in a very nice way. You feel good, you feel elevated and all of that. And suddenly a samskara pops up and you're like in some story, in something crazy, caught in some very low vibrational stuff. I mean, the story comes later. First, of course, there is the emotion and then there's the story. And then by doing this technique, it just helped to push that through, but it still took sometimes 1 or 2 days. So during that time. So the unity wasn't experienced. So I couldn't experience it because I was just caught in this low vibrational energy. And this is what happens a lot with people also who are in unity consciousness and who I'm working with. They're veiled, basically. Their experience of unity is veiled because of their remaining human stuff in their system. Yeah.
And I remember in your conversation with Gareth, he was very encouraging. He was saying that this is normal and natural and it's all going to be okay. And that getting that message across to you seemed important. And I would assume for our listeners too, if they are going through this, that there's another side. You can relax and allow these things to come up and come through the other side.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's great that you say that. Yeah, definitely. You go through that, and then, on the other side, there is relaxation and there's the openness again. And there is more space for light in your system afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and more space to expand your consciousness. And also then the human experience gets a lot nicer. So the more stuff you clear out of your system, the nicer the human experience get, because you're basically more in alignment with your life. And with all the negative stuff, the low vibrational stuff, you're kind of pulled into the other side. So away from the alignment, from the balance and the alignment.
Nowadays, when you transmit to others for their healing, what would you say you focus on as part of the allowing that transmission to happen?
Okay, so what do you mean exactly by that? So just when I sit down and ask the transmission to come in, it just comes in. And basically, okay, I see it as, so it's a light. A transmission is a light, and light is pure information. And it comes in, and the transmission I'm working with contains the information of the highest truth. And the highest truth, that's a lot, So, and everything is receiving exactly what that person needs at that time from that highest truth. And that's what the person receiving. And then when I have a healing session, for example, the focus is the healing. That means the transmission wants to help people to clear their system and to have a better life experience and raise their level of consciousness. So the transmission basically tells me what I need to do for people. So I'm communicating, I'm reading the transmission, I get the information, and also the transmission contains information what I need to share with people. So that's what that's why I'm sharing things. So it's not my wisdom that's coming through. It's actually the transmission giving me the information. I just share it. Yeah.
How did you discover that you had the ability to transmit this healing energy? What did that feel like inside of you?
Yeah. I mean, my whole path of awakening, I just meditated with transmissions. So I've never really meditated without. So I was very familiar with them. And then it just started to come in, and I kind of knew that this is going to happen. So this is just part of my path, that eventually a transmission is going to come in and I will be able to transmit it. And that's just what I did. So I didn't really think about it, or I didn't really think anything of it. It just comes in, and and it works.
And you said it's an energy that knows what's best for us. So what really is the healing energy that is being transmitted?
Yeah, so I call it it's the information of the highest truth. So the highest truth basically means your optimum and your optimum life experience. So that you have your optimum life experience, you need to be pulled towards that. And the highest truth can basically help you to be pulled towards that, so that everything that's not of your highest truth can go. So that means, of course, if people are connected to the transmission, certain things sometimes need to go. So sometimes it's low vibrational energy, so it's just emotional stuff. But sometimes it can also be, let's say, a partner or a job, or something that you were doing and you weren't actually supposed to do it. I mean, you did do it, but like you are not supposed to do it, going on towards your personal highest truth, because there is something better waiting for you. So that means other stuff might go. It's not like that for everybody, but it's possible. So old stuff or stuff that's not serving can go, and stuff that's serving then come in. So for example, meaning an old job goes and a new job can come in, or an old partner goes, a new partner can come in. So yeah.
Can anyone learn to transmit, or is it more something that you're chosen for?
It really depends on what kind of energy. For example, I'm initiated in Reiki. So a few years ago, I did a Reiki course, and then you get initiated, and then you can transmit the Reiki energy. And there are other, and also Palawa healing. It's also a healing modality I've learned. So you get initiated, and then from that moment on, you can access this energy and then transmit it. The energy I'm working with, I don't know. Like, I can't initiate people. So I don't know, but definitely you have to reach Brahman consciousness to have access to these energies, because the energy I'm working with comes from beyond creation. So Brahman is beyond creation. I was shown that actually in a meditation, very interesting. So I was guided in creation through all dimensions, so all 12 dimensions, and then outside of creation. And it's very interesting. Being in creation, everything is very sticky. There is a lot going on. There is a lot of noise. And then when you go outside of creation into the Brahman, where there's nothing there, it's very relaxing. It's silent. There's nothing going on. It's a beautiful place to be. But there is an origin light. So there is a light that creates everything. So in creation, it seems like everything is infinite, because creation is infinite. Yeah. But when you step outside of creation, you can see from outside of creation into creation. So it's a different way of seeing things. And there I saw this origin light, and this light basically came into my system when I saw it and merged with me and said, this was my light before. I worked with that light before, and it came in. And from that moment on, basically, I was able to transmit this specific one I'm working with now. And this is where all the information started to come in also as well, like what it is for, and the wisdom I'm sharing in the sessions and all of that. Before I was transmitting lights as well, but just in silent. But this specific one, yeah, I've been working with now for quite some time, yeah.
I have a question about my experience with both you and Gareth. You know, I've meditated for a long time, but when I meditate with you and Gareth, or I guess you can't call it I'm meditating, because it's more like I just sit there and receive the transmission. And it's a really unique state of consciousness I experience. I can best describe it as peaceful, although it seems like there's not me there. So like I can't tell the difference between like 3 minutes and an hour. And there's almost no recording of what's going on. I know I'm not asleep, because when I come out, I'm like very vibratory and peaceful, and everything's vibrating. But there's almost like nothing, you know, a void that is completely silent. And can you describe, is that a common experience, or is that me, or what's going on there?
Yeah. I mean, very great that you have this experience. And yeah, I think, I mean, if people are, let's say, have been meditating for a while and feel energies, they also share that experience, because what you just shared, because you're basically pulled into the Brahman, you know, and that's what you experience for that time. So your consciousness is pulled into a high level of consciousness into the Brahman for the while of the meditation. And then when you get out of it, it comes back, you come back into your level of consciousness, but you always take a little bit of the Brahman with you, you know, until eventually one day you are just there. So like you get just little drops of it every time. Yeah.
So you mentioned Brahman is different than unity consciousness. How is it different in your experience?
Yeah. So Brahman, to me, when I experienced the Brahman, then I knew this was the real liberation. So first I thought unity consciousness is liberation, because you kind of, you know, you're everything that exists, and you're liberated from the ego and the small self. But really it is the Brahman, because in the Brahman, the individual, so before I said the individual experiences the unity, and then in the Brahman, the individual falls away. And basically I knew I'm pure beingness. So I'm just pure beingness, pure existence, and that's it. There is nothing else. And this was also a very profound shift, because first, when I experienced the Brahman, there is nothing there. The Brahman is pure emptiness. So it's really like, this is something very hard to describe, because how do you describe emptiness? You have to experience it. But basically, a very good way to describe it is, and you probably only know it when it falls away, but so there is always an energy connection between you and another person, between you and an item and stuff like that. So there's always an energy exchange, and this energy exchange falls away. So it's like you don't have a relationship to anything anymore. So everything is just gone. And yeah. it's I can share the words, but it's probably hard to understand. And very, so I can just share different experiences of the Brahman so that you get an understanding. For example, Brahman is outside of creation, so you basically walk through your day and you look into creation. And what does it exactly mean? So creation, everything is created just in front of your face when you look at it, and when you look away from it, it's gone. It just collapses. It's dark, so you look away, it's gone. So every person, every interaction you have with somebody, every place you go to, it's just there when you see it, and when you look away, it's gone. And a good way to describe it, for example, is it's like a movie screen, and it's far in the distance, and you look at the movie screen, and everything between you and the movie screen is 3D. It's a 3D movie screen, but there's nothing behind this movie screen. So there's nothing there. Yeah. So it's hard to describe. And also what's very interesting in the Brahman, because there's nothing there, it's empty, like all the human emotions fell away. So all the love, the human love, the joy, all the high vibrational stuff, but also the low vibrational stuff. So there is nothing, you don't have any experience of anything. So you just like, there's a line of zero all the time. That's it. Like you just experience zero. You don't experience any highs, but also no lows. Yeah. And then we call it Para Brahman, those emotions are coming back, but just in a different way, because there is no individual experiencing them anymore. There is love coming back, but this is then really the unconditional love. Then also there's joy coming back, but it's the joy of existence. It's not the same as it was before. So it's joy, right? So it's very, very different. The experience of life gets very different, of yourself is very different. But fascinating to me that we are able to experience this in one human lifetime. Like, to me, it's just so fascinating, it's awesome. Yeah,
it's fascinating to me too, and I really liked your explanation. I like the fact that you talked about that there's no relationship between one thing and another, or me and another. That seemed to make sense. If all is one, if all is just sort of energy rising and falling in temporary forms, how could there be a relationship between me and something else? And if there is not a relationship between me and something else, how is there anything actually really happening?
Yeah, I mean, the experience of this reality is real. So the experience of it is real, but just in the end, it's all consciousness, but we experience items as being like hard. A phone is like a solid item, right? We see light and all of that. So we have this human experience. So this makes it possible to have an interaction with people, of course, to be in this reality.
Was it like a movie? I mean, when we watch a movie, we identify with the character in the movie, and we feel emotions, and we think we sort of experience it as if we're there, but it's not really there. It's just light.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you could say it is like that. But this phase of that experience. So I experienced the Brahman for 3 months. So it wasn't very long. There are people who are just in there all the time, or people who experience it even for shorter. After that, so when the more humanness stuff, or the human stuff comes back, it kind of more merges again. So the spiritual stuff and the human stuff merges again. And then it's just everything, you just accept everything more how it is. So spirituality collapses with the human experience, and you just 100% start enjoying the human experience, or accept it. Okay, I'm here, I'm having this human experience, I'm pure consciousness, and that's really it. And then basically the human experience comes into the forefront, and the interest in spirituality goes into the background. So before, you kind of want to get away from the human experience, you go into spirituality, and then you go through all these levels, and then realizing in the end, okay, I have a human experience, what can we do? We can't get out of it. And then the full acceptance is there. And this is the liberation, because you can just have the human experience, and also the Brahman, all these aspects of what I shared before in the Brahman, this kind of then falls away. So it's not that intense anymore. You have the knowing, everything is just consciousness and the projection, but you can just, you through your everyday life and you don't think about these things. It's just a new way of experiencing everything, and you stop thinking about it, and that's it. So I don't think about anything really.
Right.
But the difference is you have probably peace all the time, whereas in the normal human experience, you don't.
Yes, that's the biggest difference. So I'm like, there is the total establishment in the pure silence and the pure peace. So that's always there. And there is like no triggers. I mean, this also depends on how much you've healed your system, of course, right? So there is like, you see something happening on the outside, and before you might have get triggered, and now it's just, you just see it's happening, so there is no interaction between you and that, because I mean, this is really what's happening. We interact with the world and we project what we have inside onto the outside, right? So if we experience the world being a dark and negative place, it's because there's a lot of that in our system. And if it's cleared and healed, then it's actually nice and beautiful. You don't see the low vibrational stuff, of course, because you don't find resonance, and you don't see things that way either. So so life experience gets a lot nicer. As well. And also, sorry, just one more thing I want to share, because that's also very important, is there is like 100% surrender to life experience. So meaning the system is open all the time, and there's just life flowing through, and whatever is experienced, that's experienced with 100% surrender. So you wouldn't want to change anything. And that's also really, really enjoyable and liberating, because life is just how it is.
So it makes sense that you can go back to human life, because the love, instead of, I've heard you describe it as human love, as opposed to unconditional love. In other words, the joy and peace and happiness is not dependent on what happens in your life with this acceptance and allowing that you're talking about. So it's unconditional. So you can experience life fully, because you don't have this idea that experience is what's going to create the joy.
Exactly. So you don't need a certain experience that the joy can come up. The joy is just there all the time, but it's different. So it's not like a high. It's not like an ecstasy joy, in that kind of way. Oh my God. It's more, it's just, it's underlaying. It's there all the time. And it's very, it's subtle, but it's just there all the time. The joy and the love, they're just there. And there is unconditional love, meaning there is no difference between anybody anymore. So no matter who I'm looking at or who I'm interacting with, there's exactly the same love for everybody. The difference is there's just more drawn. So I feel drawn to certain beings, like to my partner, to my mother. And so there are just beings I'm drawn to more than others. But like from the love point of view, everybody's exactly the same. There is no difference at all. And that's also, nice. It's nice.
You have now started something called Next Elevations, which is a transmission that can be given, I guess, all the time. I'm signed up for that. And I'm wondering what you can say about that, including some of these transmissions have very specific intentions attached to them. And, I think of a transmission as maybe, you're doing the Divine Mother. It's a very generalized thing, of the Divine Mother or something. But some of these transmissions that you put out are now like 24/7 and also very precise in terms of their intention. I'm wondering if you can talk about that.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for subscribing. It's great that you have it. And so I'm the base transmission. So I just call it the base transmission. That's probably what you're connected to. So I'm just sharing for the audience, there's a transmission for pets, there is the base transmission for you, and there is a transmission for locations. And it's all the same, basically just either a pet, a location, or a person is connected. And the difference is when you are meditating with me and receiving the transmission, you always need me, or you need a YouTube video, you need a healing session, you need Zoom somehow, or in-person retreat or something like that. And the difference here is that you can be connected to that transmission 24/7. So you're basically in a meditation 24/7, so nonstop. So it's basically the fastest way of progress because, yeah, it's always there and it's always transforming your system, and it transforms your system on a cellular level towards your personal highest truth. So this is the transmission I was talking about before. So the transmission of highest truth that's coming through. And it pulls you towards your optimum timeline. So everything, like I said before, and that's not in alignment can fall away. And it's also, it's a process. So it's not that you subscribe and everything will change from one second to the next. I mean, it's possible, but usually it's a progress because like we live in this 3D reality. So there is just time, we have time. So that we need time that certain things, certain changes can happen. So certain things start falling away and new things can come in that are better for you, that are more serving you, and that are more serving your life purpose. Either it's people, it's a job, it's like a hobby or something like that, or it's spiritual awakening. So it really depends on what your life purpose is, what you're going for, and what's important for you. So this is basically what the transmission of the highest truth is doing. Yes, it's the spiritual transmission and is for spiritual people, but also for people who just want to have a nicer life experience and are not interested in spiritual awakening. So for example, you're connected to that and you're on the path of spiritual awakening. The best possible teacher for you at this time will come. The best possible book at this time will come. And maybe it's something different in a month from now. It's something different in 2 months from now, right? So you're always pulled towards your personal highest truth, but like it's like the whole life path is just unfolding, it's a progress and unfolding. So this is basically the base transmission. And the add-ons, so we call them add-ons or boosters. So just an example. So we have like health booster and peace, inner peace, joy, unity consciousness, weight loss. There are just different ones. And really, they are all contained in the base transmission anyways. But if you are interested in like expanding in that area because you feel like, okay, I just want to be healthier because I'm ill, for example, and you have the booster, then there is just more energy coming in for that reason. Yeah. And for example, it's really cool. And I established that because, in the healing sessions, I'm working with the base transmission, but there are always different energies coming in and they're just aspects of this base transmission. So I was working with these energies before all the time anyways. And so I discovered I can just, put them or connect people to them as well individually, but you have to have the base transmission to be able to have the add-ons, and then it's just more of that is coming in. What's needed?
That particular flavor or ingredient.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and there's abundance, for example. Different ones. So, yeah.
Amazing. I'm wondering. I'm going to be going to a retreat with Gareth in November, and I can barely stay in the room for an hour when he meditates because it's so intense for me. Is being in person more intense, or is there any difference between the being in person with you or Gareth and the Zoom, and then also any difference with the recording, or are all the energies basically the same?
The energies are the same. It's just the intention, what you're using them for. So when you go to a retreat, you go there for a week, and what you want is you want to sit in this transmission for, I don't know, like multiple hours a day. You just meditate. And so the intention is an intensive, so it's going to be intense. What I mean? So there is a lot going to happen, a lot of clearings probably, and a lot of deep meditations. And so it's always really about intention with these transmissions. So it always depends on what we are using them for. That's really what it is. It's very simple. So it's really like you use a pen for drawing or for writing. You know what I mean? It's like just the intention what you're using it for. You can draw a painting or you write a story. It's the same with these transmissions. Whatever you're using it for, it works for that. Yeah.
An analogy. I like that.
Yeah.
I want to backtrack a little bit to your guided meditations because I've experienced many of them on YouTube, and I have a couple of specific questions about them, if you don't mind.
Yes, yes, please.
First of all, I really love the fact that you talk us through what you're doing as we're listening, which is different from other guided transmission meditations. And was that a conscious choice, or did that just sort of happen, just seem like the logical thing to do, or?
Yeah. So first, I did them in silence as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw these things happening, and then in the end, I kind of shared with people what I saw. But then people were curious, because sitting in a meditation for an hour, yeah, it's nice, but they were kind of curious to know what I was doing. And then I basically just got the impulse to start sharing it. And so in the healing session, that's where I started sharing what I'm doing in my healing sessions, in the group sessions. And then also in the free healing meditation, that's on every Thursday. I just started just by impulse. Yeah, but first I just did them in silence. Mm-hmm. And of course, then when you're using that skill, more of that is coming through. Mm. So before there was it was a lot less. So I could share in the end of the session, I could share something, but it was a lot less. And now, there's something coming through all the time, and I just see it and then I share it. Or the energy tells me I need to do certain things, and I just tell people what I'm doing. And it really helps because you can put your attention on what I'm doing, and then you have a better experience of it as well, versus sitting in silence for an hour, right? Yeah. And also the messages that are coming through, I mean, they are really beautiful, and they also help the human, it's good information. Yeah.
Well, I like it, and it seems very generous. And but there are some questions about some of the things that you often say. For example, you talk about random thoughts and personal thoughts, but I'm not sure what the difference is between random thoughts and personal thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so life energy flows through our system from the root to the crown chakra. And in the mind area, sometimes there's a lot of energy accumulated because we learn to think a lot, right? So this, our whole school system is just all about thinking and the mind. So we basically keep a lot of energy on that level. So when life energy flows through the system, a lot of energy is just in that area. The personal thoughts are the ones you are personally having. For example, I need to get, I don't know, groceries later on, or I don't know, you play the guitar or something, you have it in your background. Mm-hmm. So it's a conscious thought. And the random thoughts are basically the energy in that area just playing out by themselves. So the stories. So they just create stories. And the stories are around, of course, what you're doing, what you are personally thinking, what you're going to do later on, and so on, or energies that you have in your system at the moment. For example, triggers. For example, there's an energy in your system in this moment, a fearful energy. Then the thoughts, they will be around fearful things. But they're just random thoughts. They're not real. They're not they're just like a balloon of air. You know what I mean? They're just so we in German we have this expression of Luftschloss. It's a air castle. You build an air castle, so it's it's not real. Your personal thoughts are real. So, but it's not a lot. Like when you go through your day, how many thoughts would you have? You would probably have, I don't know, 10,000 thoughts. So Joe Dispenza says we have 70,000 thoughts a day. So personal thoughts would be 10,000, and the rest is just random, just those stories. And this is basically just that energy passing through your system and being held there. It's also a mechanism that we have. It's held there and just forming random thoughts.
And so personal thoughts are more intentional or practical. Is that the
it's not we don't really have a lot of personal thoughts. It's really just a tool. The mind is just a tool to navigate through our everyday life. So it's really not to forget your groceries and maybe remember a few things.
So making a list or deciding
exactly
what time to leave for the airport, that's what you're talking about. But
exactly, and the rest, all the stories, it's just stories. So basically, over time, there's going to be less and less and less. And just for me, most of the time, there is just emptiness. There's just nothing. So there is just just looking around, but there's nothing happening behind on the mind level. You know what I mean? Yep. And then I was just a thought. And then also, what's very important is that a lot of people mistake thoughts with intuition. So intuition kicks in an information. So, but I always say intuition comes on the heart level. So information comes in, for example, what we need to do next, or just something intuitive comes up. And then people mistake it sometimes with the mind, or start thinking about their intuition, and then a story gets formed, and then they question their intuition and all of that, and then it starts again. But basically, on an energetical level, what you just, your question, to answer your question, is really energy should flow through our system. So life energy flows from the root to the crown chakra. We have an experience, and experience always happens on the inside. It's projected on the outside. It's happening on the inside. And when the experience is over, the energy fully leaves the system. And the optimum way the system works, or should work, is that there is no memory in our system about that experience, only on the mind level. So no emotional memory, right? So even though it was a lot of fun, or a lot of joy, or something you didn't prefer, it doesn't really matter. You had this experience, you go through it, so you can't escape this. This will always happen. It doesn't matter on which level of consciousness you are. You have an experience, it goes through, you have it, and then it leaves the system. And then, of course, in Brahman, the convenience is it's just fully gone, like it's totally gone. You can't tap into that experience anymore. It's not possible. And before, it's possible because it's basically stuck in the system. It can get stuck in the system. So, for example, when you're annoyed about something that happened 2 months ago, and then you think about it, and then the energy of annoyance comes back into your current experience, and you experience now the annoyance, I'm so annoyed, about that, what happened.
Yes.
And this is what most humans experience, right? So that's why we live in the past and in the future, because we live in the past because we bring past experiences into the present moment, and also we project it into the future, and we don't actually experience the present moment because of that. And this is also another mechanism that starts breaking down. And this is what I'm doing with my work. I start breaking down, or help breaking down these mechanisms, and also on the mind level, break down this mechanism that you just have less thoughts, so that the energy can basically pass through and not get stuck there. And you have just random thoughts all the time. Like, you just think about random things, and you're away from the current life experience. Like, you don't have an experience of the present moment because you're somewhere else, Yeah.
Yeah, I've experienced that once or twice, being somewhere.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we have plenty of time for, you're going to guide our listeners through a transmission meditation. But before we do that, is there anything that you wish we had asked, or you want to say to complete anything that you didn't get to?
Okay, I want to, can I share my offerings? Is that something I can do here? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So, you were talking about the next elevations, and there is a separate website I have, and it's www.nextelevations.com, and people can try this 24/7 transmission. So there's a 14-day free trial just to get a sense of it. There's also a lot of information there. So if you are interested, please visit that website. And then also I offer a free healing meditation every Thursday at 9 o'clock Central European time. So everybody's welcome to join. It's always about 50 minutes. And before, we chat for like half an hour, so people can ask questions, or we just have a nice chat. Yeah. And also I do group healing sessions. So where we do specific healings for specific things. You find the different sessions on my website. So www.em-healing.com. Yeah. So
yeah, and the meditations are great. The free ones, the ones that the next elevations are great. I'm glad you're back to doing them, because you're a new mother, and I just wanted to mention that did that create any change in your consciousness? I mean, it seems like such a big thing. I'm wondering where you are now, what that was like.
Yes, I'm a new mother to a beautiful little baby girl, and it's the most beautiful experience being a mother. And it's very fascinating. When you're in Brahman consciousness, it seems like consciousness doesn't change any further. So that's it on the consciousness level. So that's all. But of course, the human can always learn and expand, right? So of course, becoming a mother if you're not one before, and then after it's like a big learning, right? And this is going to be continued, of course, and it's beautiful. So I learned a lot on the human level, but very fascinating. So my little baby girl, she has a transmission as well, and it's funny that I'm gonna share, but I'm nursing her, right? And every time I nurse her, there is a transmission coming in. So I've been sitting in a transmission for the past 5 weeks, multiple hours a day, and this has definitely changed my system. So my system, not my consciousness, and also my the transmission, my transmission, yes. So there, it's just the flavor is different now. So you can experience it now. So yeah, it has changed.
That is fascinating.
Fascinating, right?
And beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I never thought of it. So I was like nursing her, and there was like this transmission coming in. I was like, that's so weird. And then it happened every time. And yeah, so fascinating. Yeah.
Lovely.
Last question. Earlier, you had mentioned that you would use this thing, I think it was called the transcendent technique that helped clear out your system. Is that something you recommend people look into at all?
Yes, definitely. So definitely, this is one of the most amazing tools you can use. And I don't have the website on my mind at the moment, so I can share it with you, and then you can also maybe put it into the description. It's for free. Everybody can learn it. It has 3 steps, and it's taught by a very, very amazing spiritual teacher, Partha Srinivasan, and it's channeled by an Indian guru, Swamiji Sri Atmananda. He's based in India. He has an ashram, and yeah, so it's honestly, it's really worth it. And it's I did it for about 6 months. Yeah, so
We'll get them put a link in the show notes later.
Yes.
But I'm excited every time. I'm so impacted by your transmissions that I'm looking forward to sharing that with our audience. So it's all yours, whatever you want us to do now.
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. So basically, what you can do now is just sit back, relax, and meditate along. And this is the amazing part about spiritual transmissions, because you don't need to do anything else, right? Don't need to do any spiritual practices or anything. Just allow, be open and receptive. So I'm just going to remove my headphones. Can you still hear me? Because I'm using my hands. So my hands are also basically just intention. So what I shared before, using intention with working with these energies, but the hands are also like just intention, that you don't have to think about these things all the time. It's just easier. So if people are wondering why I'm like using my hands. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring in the transmission, and then we start. Takes about a minute or 2. Okay, so I start with opening up the energy field. And bring in light. And I'm expanding the energy field. So expanding the energy field helps to hold more light in the system, and also more awareness comes with that as well. And the energy field can always be more expanded. And the light that's coming in is pure information. So your system, every cell of your body is receiving this higher information. And then I fill up the expanded space with light. Okay, and I open up the energy more. So always when I open it up more light can come in. That's what we want. We want to have as much light in our systems as possible. So I'm opening it up more and bringing even more light. So the light comes in through the crown chakra and through all the chakras down to the root chakra. That's where I pull it in. And I open up the crown chakra more. And the third eye chakra. So this is basically the connection to this higher information. Those chakras have a connection to God, to the divine. So that's why it's important to open up those more. And again, I help more energy flowing into your system. And then I clear surface energies. So surface energies are just energies and emotions that are floating around the top of your system. And they're just distracting and we don't need them at the moment. So I'm clearing them. And maybe you can experience right away, there is more light coming in because we just clear these distractions. So I'm clearing more and more and more. Also, especially the heart chakra. So I clear especially energies out of the heart chakra. Because a more open and more cleared heart chakra helps us just to experience more light and more love and truth. And this is basically what we want more of. So I'm clearing the heart chakra specifically as well. Okay, there's a lot of energies being cleared out of the heart chakra right now. Just a lot of low vibrational stuff. And maybe it feels a little uncomfortable because it's just a lot leaving the system. Maybe not. If not, that's perfect, but it's possible. Maybe you even feel a little ache or pain in the heart chakra. That's totally fine. It's just energies leaving. So there is already a big amount of light in your system. There is more coming in, more coming in, more coming in. Again, I'm opening up the energy field more. Bring in even more light. So anchor the light in the heart chakra. Also in the throat chakra. Basically what the light is doing, it's also working by itself on those areas and it's clearing blockages and removing low vibrational energies. And I also connect the third eye chakra directly. And now I'm helping the system to relax more. So the more the system can relax, so the energy field and then also the body, the more light can come in as well. So I help the system to relax more. So if you still feel tension in certain areas, you can put your attention there so that the tension can go. Just allow it to leave. And if it doesn't leave, don't worry about it. It's also fine that it just stays. It will dissolve by itself. So it's also perfect just to know that it's there, and it's gonna go anyways later on then. So more energy of relaxation is coming in now. So it's basically the energy has the information of relaxation, comes in into every cell of your body. Every cell of your body gets the information to relax more. And now the body can relax more. And you can just drop deeper and deeper into this meditation. And maybe you feel that there is not just light in your body, but also in your energy bodies, of course, which are larger than your body. So you maybe experience light being all around you as well. So the boundaries of your physical body starts dissolving. And you just experience more and more of this beautiful light coming in. So in and around you. And I'm going to remove more energies out of the heart chakra, so specifically aches and pains. So just pains from throughout your lifetimes. There are just pains stored there, the energy of pain and sadness and aches. So I'm clearing those. Yes, you also need to let them go. So this is part of it. You need to let them go. I'm just telling the system to let them go, because sometimes we are holding on to these aches and pains for different reasons. Maybe just because we're used to them so much. It's a habit, tapping into those energies, bringing them forward. Or we just experienced so many that there are just a lot stored. So I'm clearing those. They are not needed. And they're just in the way of experiencing high vibration energies and more light. And I'm specifically working on the third eye chakra. I'm also removing energies, just stuck energies out of the third eye chakra. What we want to have is that life energy flows through our system without being stuck. So it flows from the root to the crown chakra, falls back down left and right in all directions, and flows up again, and so on. And there's this central energy channel. This is where this energy is flowing. So I'm expanding this central energy channel, that more life energy can flow. And the more this channel is open, the more energy flows, the nicer our life experience gets, because we are in the flow of life. And life gets more effortless, more joyful. The right things come at the right time. So yes, it's one thing to be connected to the light. The light helps you, it pulls you towards that. And then also what it does, it helps to open up the system more, because we need that life energy can flow all the time and that it's not stuck. So help the life energy to flow more. So maybe you can experience that your boundaries, so not the ones of the body, because those are already dissolved in the light, but also of your energy bodies, are even more expanded. So you are at the moment very, very large. There is just a lot of light, and this light just helps to expand your system more and more. Again, this light is pure higher information, the information of the highest truth, and it helps to transform your system to your personal, towards your personal highest truth. So we all came here with a soul plan, and the personal highest truth is basically living life exactly how you're supposed to, but in the best possible way, from the perspective of the human experience. And also from the perspective of the soul, living through all the experiences it wants to have. And I basically put this information into the soul. So the information of the highest truth. And on a soul level, this helps also towards more relaxation, more allowing, more surrender. So again, there is a little heaviness in the heart chakra, so I'm clearing this heaviness. And maybe you can feel when these low vibration energies are cleared, that you feel lighter right away. There is more expansion of your system right away. There is more light coming in right away. If you don't feel it, don't worry, it's happening. So now, because we cleared a lot of low vibration stuff, there is now the energy of joy coming in, the joy of existence. I mean, it's there all the time. It's basically tapping into that energy. It's just behind all this human stuff. And there's more joy coming in, more joy coming in. So every cell of the body is basically vibrating to the vibration of joy. So it's a warm, fuzzy feeling. Everybody's probably experiencing it differently. So it could be just more light, vibration. Every system is different, so everybody's perceiving differently. There is more joy, and also the understanding that everything is perfect as it is. That's coming in as well. So everything is perfect exactly how it is. Everything is there for a reason, and there are no mistakes. So I'm clearing parts of our system that are seeing experiences as negative or in a low vibrational way. Because experiences are neutral. So they're always neutral, and then it's always how we experience it, how our systems are perceiving these experiences. It's all about that. So I'm helping to clear parts that are perceiving in a negative way or in a low vibrational way, in a fearful way. So just clear parts. Now again, the information comes in, everything is perfect as it is. And it's, yes, on the one hand, it's information for the mind, but everything I talk about or share is information for the system. So every cell of the body gets this information. So it's your beingness gets this information, the body and the beingness. I mean, the beingness is there already, just the body needs to follow. And then we basically don't live from the mind, okay, everything is perfect as it is. We just know. It's just how it is. Everything is perfect as it is. This is just our new understanding of things. This is why energy work is so powerful, because it's not working on the mind level, it's working on the system, on the energy field. And it changes the way of understanding from the beingness level, from the experiential level. And I'm clearing a lot of energies out of the heart chakra that are basically in the way of what I just shared. They say energy of but, and no, and I don't think so, and that's different. So all those energies that are basically questioning that and are in the way of that understanding. So I clear those out of the heart chakra. And also out of the mind level. Because when these questions are gone, they're just gone. There are no questions. So often, yes, questions need to be answered, but often it's better to just clear the question, because the answer is not going to change anything. So I'm also clearing questions out of your system, especially questions around why we're here, why we're having this human experience. Is there a purpose? What's my purpose? What's life's purpose? So these are questions you can like think about them over and over again, look for the answer everywhere, but you're not going to find it because there is no answer. There is no answer. The answer is just experiencing this life. This is basically the only answer, but everything else are just questions, and you can get lost in looking for the answer. And this is just a waste of time. And this is basically you are stepping away from the present moment, just experiencing what life is presenting to you. And this is what I'm clearing for you. All these questions. And maybe you can feel how much your system can relax after those questions are being cleared. So the system is really a lot more relaxed right away. And no, you're not going to figure it out. So I clear that as well, that part that wants to figure things out. There's nothing to be figured out. I clear that part as well. I mean, it's great to be curious. It's great to want to know certain things and figure out certain things, but only to that extent that it's not in a way that it's not a blockage. And now the energy of peace is coming in. So in general, there's a lot more inner peace established right away or right now because we cleared so many energies. But also there's the energy of peace coming in, just helping to experience more just peace, to experience more peace inside, more silence. So when there are no questions and no answers are needed, there's right away more peace, more clarity, more space. And pure being, just being, doesn't mean not doing anything, doing everything, but just from the place of beingness. And the system recognizes this as higher truth. And it's relaxing into that information. And there's a big relief, like, oh, I understand. You might understand intellectually, or you probably understand intellectually as well, of course, what I shared, but it's more for the system. So I let you sit with that new understanding for about 2 minutes before I'm going to finish this meditation. Okay. We are finished.
That was intense, Eva.
Yeah.
I found myself doing a lot of yawning and releasing. How about you, Brian?
I thought it was lovely. I found myself getting very relaxed and having a feeling of just spaciousness and expansion.
Lovely. Yeah. Beautiful. You look really relaxed.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're radiant as well. So yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, Brian's great to watch when he meditates. He looks like a puppy having the time of his life.
It's true. It's true. That's the way it feels. Oh,
Nice.
so lovely. So joyful and blissful and nice. Relaxed.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
people can find out more about your work at em-healing.com or nextelevations.com. I am too altered to have it much of a more conversation, Eva. So I think this is a good time to end. Any last words, Brian?
Well, I'm just very grateful, Eva, that you came on and shared this with our listeners, and I'm grateful to you, Jonathan, for guiding us through the conversation so well. And thanks very much.
I also wanted to say thank you so much for having me and for your very amazing questions. Like I really, really enjoyed this conversation. So thank you so much. And also to the listeners, of course, for listening in. So thank you very much. Yeah, that was awesome. Really enjoyed it.
So glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's an honor to be able to speak to somebody who can both transmit stuff and also explain the process and what's happening. So we really appreciate that, Eva.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'm glad. So thank you. Yeah.
Till next time, friends, keep exploring.
Keep exploring.
Thank you for listening to Awareness Explorers. To learn more, you can check out our website at awarenessexplorers.com. Please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. We'd love it if you would post a review. And please share our link on Facebook and with family and friends, because knowing yourself as awareness is the greatest gift you can give yourself or someone you love.